Hello everyone! In this week's video, I am painting on pumpkins. I'm going to try to turn one of these pumpkins into my original character, Gwendolyn. You all helped me create her in a recent video, so if you want to check out that video, you can find links to it somewhere. As I'm recording this audio, it's not currently Halloween, but this video will be going up on Halloween. I know with the current situation going on in the world, a lot of things are canceled. But I hope you still have a fun day and maybe we can find other things to do, like painting on pumpkins. The paint I am using is Arteza Outdoor Acrylic Paint. You get 20 colors in this set. According to Arteza, these are perfect for indoor and outdoor use. These paints work on a variety of surfaces, they won't fade over time, and they are non-toxic. I did swatch a couple colors to kind of get a feel for the paint. I didn't swatch all of them because I'm not sure how often I'll use this paint, and they'll probably stay better for longer if I keep them sealed. So yeah, these paints are really thick. They feel like a heavy body acrylic, and the paint really keeps its shape when I squeeze the paint from the bottle. They also kind of have a different smell to them. I assume this is because they have a form of sealant in them that's giving them a different smell. It is really neat that the paint seals itself, so you don't need to apply any kind of sealant to it. It makes the process of painting on things that you want to put outdoors a lot faster. So these are the two pumpkins I'll be painting on. They are pretty small and I think they are really cute. One is more circular and the other is a bit taller. I'm going to paint on the circular one first. So first I had to figure out how to position the pumpkin so I can draw on it, but you can also see what I'm doing. I wasn't totally sure how to go about doing this. Thankfully I was able to grip the pumpkin with my left hand. The bottom of the pumpkin kind of sinks in and it's a nice spot for my thumb to go. So yeah, I was able to easily hold on to the pumpkin. Can I just say, I'm really glad I didn't get super duper big pumpkins because that's what I was thinking about doing at first. But I'm glad I found these little tiny ones. I am starting off by sketching my design with a pencil. I grabbed a pencil with a pretty soft graphite, but you can hardly see it. The pumpkin is super soft, so there wasn't much for the graphite to grab onto. I could barely see it in real life, so the camera also doesn't see it very much. I did later switch to a charcoal pencil, and that seemed to work a little bit better. This first pumpkin is kind of my warm-up to help me get used to working with the supplies and also with the pumpkin. I wanted to keep the design really simple and let myself get used to working with everything. And like we have established in previous videos, when I think simple, I think Kirby. But this time instead of Kirby, I'm going to paint a Waddle Dee face on the pumpkin. Waddle Dees are orange, so I thought they'd be a really good fit for this. After sketching out the face, I used the color Papaya Whip, which is like a light skin tone, and I use it for the face. Like I mentioned, these paints are really thick. However, it seems like I'll need to do multiple coats of this color. So this first coat, I'm trying to cover the entire face area. I tried to keep my sketch intact, but I kind of failed. I did keep a rough idea of where I want the eyes to be placed, but I did kind of lose a lot of the sketch. Now I need to wait for this coat to dry. Thankfully, I can use my blow dryer to help speed things up.
Don't mind me, just blow drying a pumpkin.
My second youngest brother was kind of looking at me weird because he didn't know why I was blow drying a pumpkin. Also, I'm really glad I had the blow dryer. It made this process a lot faster. So I do 2 more coats of the Papaya Whip paint and now we have a nice even coat. So now I can start painting the eyes. You can sort of see my reference on my phone in the corner. I accidentally placed it in frame. At first I was trying to use a paint pen, but that wasn't really working, so I switched back to the paint. Waddle Dee has very big oval eyes. I always have a hard time painting circular shapes. I was trying really hard to make them the same size and also have pretty smooth edges. It's kind of tricky to do because the pumpkin does have divots in it, so to make things look smooth it can be kind of hard because you have to like work with the divot of the pumpkin. So in Kirby, Waddle Dees are kind of the bad guys. They're almost like Goombas in Mario, but I wanted this one to be a good guy, so I made it Bandana Dee. He is a Waddle Dee that often helps you or that you can play as in the Kirby games. So I paint on his bandana with Zafre, I don't know how to say it. But I add a coat of that all around the top of the pumpkin, and I decided to paint the stem because I thought maybe this could be kind of like the part where the bandana ties. As you can see, this paint is a nice vibrant blue to match Bandana D's bandana, but for some reason when it dries it turns nearly black. It like totally changes colors and I'm not totally sure why. So yeah, now the bandana is kind of a black color, so it's not the right color. But maybe he's wearing a black bandana for Halloween. That's what I'll tell myself. Now I'm adding the details for the eyes. I decided to use paint markers for this because they are easier to control. I add white highlights in the eyes, and I also add some brown in the bottom of the eyes. Lastly is the blush on the cheeks. I mixed Papaya Whip and Tangelo to get this color. I really liked adding the little blushing. And now my bandana Waddle Dee is done. I think he turned out cute. I love Waddle Dee. My second youngest brother that I mentioned earlier thought he was cool because he really likes the Kirby games. So now that I'm feeling more comfortable with working on the pumpkin, let's try turning my original character Gwendolyn into one. So once again, I'm starting off by sketching my design. This pumpkin was a little bit rougher than the previous one, so it was easier to sketch on and see my sketch, thankfully, because the graphite had something to hold on to. When thinking of a way to design Gwendolyn in pumpkin form, I kept thinking of the Ufufi plushies that Disney made. They are really simple and are an oval shape, so I used those as inspiration for Gwendolyn's design. So Gwendolyn wears a scarf, sweater, skirt, and a long brown jacket. I actually forgot about the jacket for a little bit, so I sketched the sweater and skirt all the way around the pumpkin, even though they will be covered by the jacket. She has her hair tied into 2 braids, so I also sketch out the shape for those. At first I was thinking about turning this pumpkin into my original character Doris because she's the main character of my webcomic series and I like drawing her as things. But I wanted a way that I could include the orange of the pumpkin in the design, and Doris doesn't have any orange. However, then I thought of Gwendolyn, and her hair is dyed an orangey color in the illustration I drew of her, and plus she is fall themed, so she really fits this perfectly. So yeah, I'm really happy I decided to go with Gwendolyn. So once again, I did multiple coats for the skin, and due to bad planning, my camera battery died and I forgot to charge the second camera battery. So you miss out on me painting the yellow sweater, but now I'm painting her green scarf and skirt. I decided to make them the same green to help them be kind of cohesive. They weren't totally the same in the illustration I drew, but I decided to make them the same in this case. Also, this pumpkin wasn't as easy to hold as the previous one, so I put some paper towel behind the pumpkin to kind of prop it up and also help keep it in place. So yeah, that's how I kept it from rolling around all over the table. Next, I'm using a paint marker to add some line art and help separate the colors and add more details. So these paint markers probably aren't weatherproof, so you might be thinking, Becca, why are you using outdoor paint if the paint markers aren't for outdoors? Well, to be honest, I probably won't put these pumpkins outside because they would probably freeze or something. It's been very cold and snowing where I live. If I did want to put these outside, I could put a sealant over the areas I use the paint markers to seal them in, and then I could probably put them outside if I wanted to. For the sides and back of the pumpkin, I painted in the scarf and the coat. I was super happy when the brown was able to go on in one coat and I didn't have to do it multiple times. I was able to paint the sides and back super fast. The green did need 2 coats, but there wasn't too much of the green, so it went pretty fast. While doing this, I kept trying to tell myself to not worry too much about making the design super neat or perfect, because I can't keep these pumpkins forever. I did want these to turn out nice, but at the same time, I didn't want to make myself worry about spending extra time and work making them perfect, because I do need to get rid of them eventually. My sister's friend, they had a pumpkin that they kept and they forgot about it, and they cracked it open months later, and when they opened it, there was a bunch of bugs inside of it, and so yeah, I definitely don't want that to happen to me. I'm using the paint marker again to add the hair details, and yeah, I couldn't remember how braids work. The day I was painting these, I'd gotten like 5 hours of not very good quality sleep, and my brain was having to use all of its brain cells to paint these pumpkins. My littlest sister came up behind me and asked me how to spell the word cat while I was doing this. And I couldn't give her an answer and paint at the same time. I told her to go ask Reagan. So yeah, the braids ended up just being these swirly shapes. It gives the idea that they're braids. Even though I was a bit tired, I did really enjoy working on these. It was actually pretty relaxing. So now I'm working on the most important part in my opinion, the face. I am using a black paint pen to add the mouth and the eyes. I was trying my best to place them where I wanted them to be. This was a little tricky because, once again, I covered a lot of my sketch. I use a light reddish brown for her eyebrows, white for the highlights, and I mixed a blush color for her cheeks. Now I was pretty happy with how the face looked, and I was considering not adding her glasses because I didn't want to ruin it, but I really felt like she needed her glasses. So I very lightly sketched them out with the pencil and then used the same paint pen that I used for her eyebrows for the glasses. It was going good until I accidentally rested my hand in the wet paint, and then I started freaking out and I was sad because I was scared I ruined it. But thankfully I was able to use a baby wipe to wipe off the paint, so yay! So yeah, the outdoor paint seals itself really well. I was able to wipe off the other paint and it didn't affect the paint underneath, so yay! Lastly, I add her little freckles. Now let's take a look at the finished results. So yeah, these are my little painted pumpkins. I really like how they turned out and I had so much fun doing this. I've never carved or painted pumpkins, so this was a fun new experience. Thank you so much to Arteza for sending me these outdoor paints to try out. Also, thank you so much to my patrons over on Patreon. I want to give a big welcome to the newest Patreon members, Purple Jessie and Satsujin. Thank you so much for joining the Patreon community. Also, take a look at this amazing art my patrons created. They are all so amazing. My patrons are able to share their art with me on the Patreon exclusive Discord server, and I love seeing their art. Anyways, that is all for this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next week in my next video. Bye!